Today I have a bone to pick. Why religion sucks. Now, there's a controversial subject and no doubt will offend some people. And while I certainly believe in freedom of action, there is no freedom not to be offended. And so this needs to be said because it's something that too many people accept and take for granted and it needs to be questioned. What do I mean by religion? I'm talking about organized belief with a hierarchical structure of control. Um, and my assertion is that religion is a mechanism of control. If you look at the primary three Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, they're all based on the concept of revealed word. Some human, somewhere at some time in history, said that God spoke to him, wrote it all down, and from then on, we're all supposed to believe it. That we've all got those prophets, You've got the Moses of the Old Testament, you've got Muhammad of Islam, and of course the Jesus of Christianity. And it's worth remembering in talking about those three religions that the Jesus of Christianity, of course, was against religion. He was famously known for rejecting the religious authorities, and in fact, it's that rejection and that criticism of religion that got him killed. So I stand alongside someone of his caliber in saying that religion is something to be resisted. There are so many reasons why. I mean, just think about it. First of all, religion divides people. If you look at all the wars in history, you can see the religious roots. The Crusades, you can see the sects fighting each other. In Northern Ireland, the Catholics and the Protestants, right up to the present day in Syria with two factions of the Muslim, Shiaism and Sunnism, which are ultimately fighting a war under the disguise of a civil war in Syria. Religion at its root has always been divisive, like politics is divisive, and therefore it's caused people to fight over their interpretation of what they believe God has been saying through his written word, which once again is just the words of an ordinary human being, and we're told it's the word of God. But if one takes the trouble to read this word of God, like I have many years ago, and I should disclose here that I grew up in a Christian home and had to go to Sunday school and church since I was 4 years old. Later in life, as an adult, I took on Christianity seriously, Baptist variety. After 3.5 years of agony and torture, I left because of the hypocrisy, because it was impossible to read the Bible and not be completely blown away by the sheer hypocrisy and contradictions contained in it. I mean, the God of the Old Testament is some sort of theocratic sociopath. I mean, you have to face it. I mean, the urging of his favored nation, the Jewish nation, to go out and slaughter everybody else. I mean, the fact that somewhere in history someone decided to put the Old and New Testament together was a massive mistake of proportions I can't even imagine, because you read the Old Testament, you read the New Testament, and there's not a single word of consistency among them. And therefore, organized religion, when it comes down to it, it divides people, it gets people through indoctrination as young children to accept a belief without questioning it, and then it asks us to submit to, ultimately, human authority. Because these people, this organized religion, they put forward people that we are supposed to obey, whether it's the Pope or the Catholics, whether it is some sort of Grand Mufti of Islam, or whether it's your local pastor or some evangelist on television. Whatever it is, religion attracts the wrong people. Why is that? It's because it's a hierarchical control structure. People who seek control over other people are attracted to religion in order to be able to control what you think and do and what you believe. I do not see anything good about organized religion except one thing, just one thing, and that is that people no doubt get a benefit from the social interaction and the camaraderie that comes with being amongst people who believe the same thing. But you can get that in other ways. You don't have to be a religious person to seek out social interaction or some sense of belonging. And to impose laws and rituals on people. I mean, just take an example. When I was in my mid-20s as a Baptist, it was frowned upon that if you drank a glass of wine, and if you suggested that Jesus drank wine, the answer that came back was, well, no, that was grape juice. I mean, bollocks. I mean, bollocks in the extreme. And then there was the thing about you shouldn't dance. And I remember thinking, well, what do these Baptists do for fun? No dancing, which is some sort of a universal human condition if you look at human societies, and alcohol, which is as old as history. So, legalism, law-making, law-abiding, all this stuff comes from religion. It doesn't come from any God who may be the so-called inspiration. When you follow a religion, you are following the words of a man or men who wrote down what they said God told them. Now just ask yourself, if someone turned up on the scene today and claimed that God has a new revelation for you, God has spoken to you, him, and wants you to read his new book, I mean, like the Mormons, for example, more recently, but what if it happened today? Imagine how that would be taken by most religious people. They would call it blasphemy. They wouldn't believe it because this man claims to speak for God. Well, I ask you, what is so different about all the other men in the past? And for some reason, it's always men who speak for God and then want to control your life through their writings and the people who follow them. No, I am absolutely against religion. But don't take this to mean I'm against the spiritual side of human nature. I understand that. But organized religion has got much more negative than positive on the face of this earth and has caused much more misery and mayhem and death than any other ideas I can think of, other than maybe communism. But then communism was a religion too, of a different description. So that's my little talk for today. I hope you're either with me or offended. Either way, I'm happy.